Hi guys, it's Jsnow, and this is the features part of the World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. So I had to wait until the virtual ticket, I didn't get the virtual ticket, so the information had to come out slowly. So MMO Champion put it all together. I'll put a description in the link below because I'm not going to show all the pictures here, but we're just going to go over the stuff that we do have. So the factions are separated into two different continents. So there's the Alliance, there's an Alliance Island, we'll say, and then there's a Horde Island. So we each get our separate continents, and here's one picture of it. So we have the Tiragard Sound, which seems to have trouble with pirates, and is the capital of Kul Tiras, which is basically the whole name of the island. And it's led by Catherine Proudmoore, which I think is the mother of Proudmoore, or something like that, of Jaina. And then we have Monster Hunters, whatever that's supposed to mean. Next we have Drustavar. So Drustavar is some cursed island off to the left side of Kul Tiras, and it'll have a bunch of skeleton, spooky looking creatures and a bunch of quests to do there. That's all there is for that. We have Stormsong Valley, which has Quillboars back. If you remember back in Vanilla, I don't think we've seen... Yeah, we haven't seen Quillboars, I think, until Vanilla. So now we have armored Quillboars to fight. We have dark forces that invading, even though we're not sure what those dark forces are. And it's ruled by the House Stormsong. Next we have... It's just a picture now. This picture I just put in, not sure exactly what zone this is, but I'm hoping for more zones like this that are open spaces, because in Legion everything was just clustered together, and it just made for not a great experience. Because for example, you would walk like not even 5 feet, you would end up in like a Worgen zone, and then going back, I think it's Valshara, whatever it was in Legion, you would walk 5 feet into a Worgen zone, then you back up a little bit, you end up at a castle, then you just back up like 5 more feet, and all of a sudden you're in a Moonglade place for druids. So it didn't really make much sense, and there wasn't that much room to explore. So hopefully they bring exploration back in this expansion, and the zones are a little bit more fleshed out, and having all the quests right next to each other, and it just looks really weird. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think maybe you'll get it. Next we have Zandalar. So Zandalar is the Horde starting zone, and the Horde Island. So it has 3 main territories, just like Kul Tiras, and it's basically based off of trolls for the most part. So more troll dungeons, more troll raids. That's what we need. So we have Zandalari, which is capital of Zandalari, ruled by King Rastakhan, and you have to stop blood troll invaders. So you're going to be fighting tons of trolls as the Horde. We have Voldun, which is another part where you get to face off against the Sethrak, and there's some new snake models and these little fox people. Not exactly sure what these little fox people are. Not sure if they're going to be a sub-race or if there's something you have to fight against, so we'll have to see how that goes. Now to Zone Flow. Zone Flow, 6 zones spanning 2 continents, so as I was saying, you'll have 3 zones each. You level up in your faction zones, so Zandalari for Horde, Kul Tiras for Alliance, and then once you hit 120, you'll get your Emissaries and World Quests. So once again, if you're familiar with Legion, you'll be doing the World Quest, and you have the Emissaries, which is basically complete 4 World Quests, and you get to turn it in for some extra rewards. And then you're going to have an epic, whatever that means, war campaign arc woven throughout. So you're gonna have instead of I guess a class campaign, you're gonna have 1 war campaign. So hopefully they don't add class campaigns back, because while they were nice and cool, it was just they were very tedious, because it required you to fly all across Azeroth again and do all these really weird obscure dungeons. So hopefully they just have 1 little campaign for everybody to do, and maybe the option to skip it if if it's just the same campaign over and over again. So that would be pretty cool, because once you hit 110, you have to do a couple things you have to do that gets really repetitive, even though they got rid of most of that stuff later on. Next we have the allied races. So you'll be able to pick between Chaos Elves, different types of Draenei, different types of Tauren, and a whole bunch of other factions. So far there's I think 6 different factions, and they're going to add more. They plan to add more. And you have to do a quest to unlock these. So what that quest is, we're not sure yet. But once you complete this quest, you can start leveling up at level 20, and they'll have different racial abilities. And then level 110 to unlock their heritage armor, which I guess is just the main armor that that they come with. So for example, if you look at the factions that are in World of Warcraft now, for example, High Mountain, I guess if you look at the High Mountain Guard, you'll get an idea of what kind of armor you can get. So this is pretty interesting. This is also a gimmick to get people to level up again, which they do have another thing for leveling up. So it's kind of interesting. This also makes them a lot of money because you can race change. So the amount of money they're going to get from race changing is probably going to be absolutely ridiculous. So this is pretty genius on Blizzard's part. Not only can they just force you to level up again, you can just shell out the $15 or $30 or whatever it is the race change. So that's pretty interesting. But overall, I mean, I think it's good. You get new races to play as, and they look pretty badass. So there's that. Next, we have the leveling improvements. So this one is going to be a little controversial for me at least. So they're going to scale everything. So I'm not a big fan of scaling only because it makes you feel weaker. So it feels like no matter how much gear you have or how much you level up, you don't feel any more powerful, which in MMO you want to feel powerful. So scaling, but this is a good thing because Outland scales from 60 to 80 and Warfronts scales from 60 to 80, which means you can skip Outland. Whew! Outland is probably one of the worst leveling zones in in World of Warcraft, only because the quests are just so old. They're basically like vanilla WoW quests. They're just that old. And we all know that vanilla WoW got upgraded in Cataclysm, but Burning Crusade never got an upgrade. So Burning Crusade is very outdated. The only thing is I'm not sure how much experience you get, because it does say 60 to 80, so that's 20 levels, and the original zones were only for 10 levels. So I'm guessing maybe you get double experience or something like that, so you can actually get from 60 to 80 in one zone. And you get to choose, if you want to go back to Outland, go ahead. Otherwise, you go right to Northrend and skip most of that stuff. Now, for dungeons, it applies to dungeons and rewards. So what I haven't seen confirmed is are you gonna be able to loot the same loot in the dungeons? If you're level 120, if you run into a dungeon, are you gonna be scaled down? Probably not, but could be a possibility. Can you play with your friends and scale yourself down to level 80? So for example, your friend is level 80, wants to do a dungeon, you want to do a dungeon too? Can you scale yourself down to level 80? Will it be like time walking? And the biggest question for me is Transmog. Will we be able to get the same Transmog items by just farming it on a high level character? Or are we going to be bound to the certain class armors that we already get? So for example, if you run in with a plate wearer, you'll only get plate gear. So that's something to think about, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how this goes. And it actually begins in patch 7.3.5, which hasn't got an announcement yet, but hopefully soon, as Blizzard says. Next we have the Heart of Azeroth. So this is kind of, I'm not a fan of this at all. It's a gift from Azeroth herself to the World Protectors. Ooh. And then Azerite levels up the amulet empowering armor. So I think the next screenshot has the pick. Yes, it does right here. So Azerite armor is basically your artifact power for this expansion. Now, I'm not a fan of artifact power because it's just grinding. It's just such a grindy experience. Like, you just do 50 million world quests, non-endless artifact power, it never stops. So hopefully they make it a little bit more interesting with this Azerite armor. You can also see that the item level has changed. So for example, this guy's at level 110, but his item level is 185. So there's going to be a huge stat squish in this one. And and hopefully this Azerite armor doesn't become like the artifact power race. Because it's just, artifact power, I'm just not a fan of artifact power. I mean, maybe you guys enjoy it, maybe you don't. I guess it's just up to you. Once again, we'll be grinding for something. Island expeditions, so you get to explore the islands across the Great Sea, and you skirmish over resources, so it's a 3-player scenario, basically. And you can race against AI opponents, and they did say there will be PvP opponents. So I'm not sure how it's going to work, but apparently there's going to be PvP components, and you can do the AI components. That should be pretty interesting. It's only 3 players, though. It would have been awesome if it was a 40 versus 40 island battle, so you could take over the island, but I guess it's not. And it's like, I guess it's a little scenario to do. I mean, whether or not it'll be worth it when the expansion runs its toll, we'll have to see. I have a feeling it's just going to be something done in the beginning of the expansion, and then people are going to stop doing it. Unless it's that fun. Next, warfronts. Now, this is what I'm looking forward to. Large-scale conflict on the home front. So, as I was saying in the other video, looked like Warcraft 3. Well, guess what? It basically is Warcraft 3. I mean, pseudo-Warcraft 3. So, for 20 players, you can verse NPC armies, build structures, research upgrades, lead troops, So if you played Warcraft 3, you'll probably, or a MOBA, it's probably gonna play out like a MOBA more than Warcraft 3. But we'll have to see what happens. What do you call it? Actually, as you can see here, they do have the resource things. So looks like maybe you'll be doing some mining and herbing and what do you call it? Killing animals and turn-ins like that. That'd be pretty interesting. And unfortunately, they didn't say there was any PvP to this, so I guess it's only for now PvE content. That's slightly disappointing because it would be definitely an interesting battleground, for so to say. PvP updates. So we have 2 new arenas for each island, and new battleground, the Seething Shore, where, excuse me, the Horde Alliance depend upon Scythius. So that new leak that they showed the Scythius map is actually a map for a new battleground. And it'll have dynamic control point gameplay, so I guess like a revolving King of the Hill gameplay thing. And what do you call it? The preview's coming in 7.3.5, so we get our hands on a new PvP zone that early. And here is the map of it, so Seething Shore, and it has multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, alright, about 10 different spots, and only 3 of these spots will be active at a time. So each time you go into this battleground, it'll be something semi-new. And there'll definitely probably be all different kinds of strategies, especially in rated BGs, on how to do this. Next, we have World PvP updates. So this one's a little bit confusing. So they say the PvP rule set largely unchanged since 2005, and they want to update the system to reflect the 2018 world. So they removed the PvE versus PvP server division, which means you had the choice to opt into PvP. So I kind of like this because World PvP is broken. I mean, unless they fix it, World PvP with these legendaries, everybody gets one-shotted left and right, just does not work. So hopefully this will change it up and you can now opt in, so if PvP continues to suck, like it did in Legion, in my opinion, then you can just turn it right off. So we'll have to see what happens. And then they say bonuses to offset inefficiency. So what are those bonuses? We don't really know. I guess maybe a stat bonus or something, but how does the server know if there's less alliance queued for PvP or whatever? Who knows? Dungeons. Each faction gets separate level up dungeons, and you have all dungeons available at both sides at 120. And Mythic dungeons are back, and they'll probably work the same as they do with Legion. Here we have there's 10 dungeons, and right now they only have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 dungeons listed here, but there's apparently 10 dungeons listed in the game. And then we have the raid Elder Halls of Control with 8 bosses, and Queen Ashara, I think, is supposed to be the last boss, or before the raid ends, you're supposed to face off against Queen Ashara herself, which is one of the iconic WoW characters. So we'll have to see how that raid goes, but it's basically the entry-level raid. And I think that's... oh yeah, the allied races, there you go. So we have Void Elves, Lightforged Draenei, Dark Iron Dwarves, Nightborn, High Mountain Tauren, and Zandalari Trolls. So, as far as the features, they're pretty interesting. We'll have to see how they play out, though, because right now, this expansion, in my opinion, is not too exciting. It just seems more of the same stuff, but we'll have to see how all these bonus things go. And it seems like there's a lot of bonus things between the warfronts, the island adventures, and the separation of zones. I'll have to see how it all works out, but I think the expansion should be pretty decent. We'll just have to see, does it become grindy like Legion? That's what I'm hoping it doesn't. And then again, if we don't like this expansion, World of Warcraft Classic is coming. So there's always that to try out. So thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more World of Warcraft videos, and hopefully we'll get some PTR action. Hopefully within next month, probably. They'll have the PTR up for 7.3.5. And let me know what you guys think of the new expansion in the comments below.